At dawn on June 16, 2005, Murugan Kanyapan, a 27-year-old janitor, accidentally found a cardboard box sealed with duct tape flooded with water on the bank of the Kalang River. Murugan approached the box to throw it away, but the water damaged it too much. As soon as he picked up the box, it fell apart and a green bag fell out. To Murugan's horror, inside was a naked part of a woman's body, neatly cut off at the pelvis and knee joints. The man immediately went to the police to report the discovery and said the body part was so fresh that it appeared as if the woman had not died at all. There was no blood or odor, he said, and the exposed knee bone looked white. Police officers combed the area around the river within a 2 kilometers radius looking for other body parts and possible clues as to what had happened. Soon, about 200 meters away from the first discovery, they found a red and white printer box containing the upper torso of a woman with amputated arms and hands. This body part was wrapped in a plastic bag and several pages torn from old issues of a local Chinese newspaper. Both body parts were later examined, and it turned out that they belonged to the same person. Forensic experts, after obtaining the samples, were able to lift fingerprints, and after looking through a database, police found a match. The prints belonged to 22-year-old Hong Mei. Hong Mei was born on September 14, 1982 in Changchun, China. It is only known that she was the third of 4 siblings, was born in a modest family, and has always had a good character. However, the rest of the information about her remained an absolute mystery. In 2003, after graduating, Liu moved to Singapore, following in the footsteps of one of her sisters named Hong Mei, who had left earlier and was engaged to a Singaporean. Liu wanted to find a good job that would help her improve her living conditions. Indeed, she managed to get a job at Agare Systems Singapore as a production operator. In an effort to improve herself and manage to stabilize her financial situation, she enrolled in evening English classes, as she was going to study at the local polytechnic and pursue a degree in tourism. In the company, Liu was a friendly and cheerful co-worker who got along well with others. However, she was promoted faster than usual, and this raised suspicion and some resentment. The short period of time between her first position and the promotion caused excitement, which increased when she was promoted a second time. The closeness between Liu, who was not yet 25 years old, and her supervisor Leong Yu-chor, a man in his early 50s, was obvious to everyone. Leong was born on April 19, 1955. He had a twin brother who grew up and lived with him in Singapore. Leong completed his tertiary education and national service, then joined Singtel and worked there for 20 years from 1976 to 1996. During his time at Singtel, he enrolled at the Singapore Polytechnic and obtained a degree in electronics and communications engineering in 1983. Leong was also quite proficient in English due to his relatively high academic background. In February 1996, he decided to leave Singtel and start his own business. But, as is often the case, a good employee does not necessarily make a successful entrepreneur, and Leong failed in his attempt to become an independent businessman. In April 1997, he decided to take a position as a production manager at Lucent Technologies Microelectronics. The company was eventually restructured and renamed Agare Systems Singapore. Leong worked a regular work shift that started at 7 p.m. and ended at 7 a.m. He married in adulthood and had 3 children. The identity of his wife has not been disclosed. According to his family, friends, neighbors, and colleagues, he was a loving father and husband, and was always known as a kind and non-violent man. Those close to him did not suspect that Liu was Leong's mistress, as she was half his age and even younger than some of his children. Their affair began when she was first assigned to work under him. At first they behaved rather discreetly, but then they couldn't seem to hide it. It got to the point where they were kissing and hugging in front of other employees of the company. On September 14, 2004, they were complained to their superiors for kissing, and Liu and Leong were severely reprimanded by company officials for inappropriate behavior in the workplace. Despite the reprimand, the couple continued their illicit relationship. On June 15, 2005, Liu's colleagues reported her missing. They were concerned that the girl did not show up for work, which was unusual for her. On June 18, 2005, police went to Liu's workplace and interviewed her co-workers. They told investigators about an affair between the girl and her supervisor, who was twice her age. The police decided to question Liang. At the time, investigators did not say Liu's body had been found, but Inspector Roy Lim noticed Liang was acting suspiciously. He was defensive, denied any connection to Liu, and his hands were shaking. The inspector even noticed small cuts on the man's fingers. The officers then took him to the police station for further questioning. After 9 hours of detention, Liang confessed to the police that he had killed Liu, but stated that he had done it with her consent and that it was all the result of a lover's pact to die together, but he did not have the courage to do it to himself. He also admitted that he had been in a romantic relationship with Liu for a year. The pathologist who conducted the autopsy on the girl's body parts, Dr. Theo Eng Sui, could not determine the cause of death because no defensive injuries were found on the victim's body. In addition, Liu's head, shins, and feet were missing, which also made it difficult to determine the cause of death. Dr. Teo also confirmed that there was no sexual assault as no DNA was found in the swabs taken from the genitals. Just 3 days after Liu's body parts were found, 50-year-old Liang was charged with murder. Under Singaporean law, he will face the death penalty if convicted. Upon receiving news of his arrest, the man's wife and eldest daughter, who were on vacation in Thailand, rushed back to Singapore to attend the hearing at which Liang was charged, along with their 2 younger children. The family subsequently hired Singapore's leading criminal defense lawyer, Subhas Anandan, to represent Liang in the trial. Meanwhile, Liang was under continuous investigation. In his first testimony, he denied the murder charge and said Liu came to his home on the morning of June 15, 2005, and asked if he could go back to China with her to start over. But he replied that he could not do so because he still loved his wife and 3 adult children. Liang said that Liu, who was desperate about their relationship, suggested that they die together. The man also claimed that to show his sincerity, the girl willingly allowed him to strangle her first and then himself. Liang agreed, as he too was depressed about the hopeless future of their relationship. He insisted that he loved her, was heartbroken over her death, and claimed that he did not intend to kill her. Liang stated that he strangled Liu with a towel until she died. At first, he thought of dying the same way, but when he saw the girl's face next to him, he got cold feet and did not dare to do so. In a panic, the man decided to hide the body as one of his daughters was due home at 6 p.m., and he knew he had to do it quickly. The accused then told the inspector that using a butcher knife and a rubber mallet, he cut the body into 7 pieces and separated the bones. He packed the remains in plastic bags which he placed in 5 separate boxes. After completing the carnage, Liang said he flushed the toilet and cleaned up. He then got on his son's bicycle to dispose of the victim's feet, shoes, and belongings, before hurrying back home to dump the remaining parts into the Kalang River and other places. After disposing of all the evidence, Liang returned home at 5 p.m. to clean his butcher knife and prepare to go to work for his regular night shift at 7 p.m. However, a subsequent police investigation revealed one detail that seemed inconsistent with the allegation of a loving pact to die together. Investigators discovered that 2 days before her death, Liu had gone to the police to report the theft of her bank card and unauthorized withdrawals of savings from her accounts at various locations in Singapore. In total, about $2,000 was stolen from her. Police officers checked the CCTV footage of the ATMs where the withdrawals took place. All the footage showed a thin man wearing a cap and a hooded sweatshirt, and investigators suspected it was Liang. They then speculated that the motive for Liu's murder might be related to the theft of her money. At one point, the police investigation briefly became confused as it was discovered that Liang had a twin brother also living in Singapore. Dr. Teo, a pathologist, stated that if the murder case involved identical twins, it would be difficult to know who the real killer was since they have the same DNA. The inspector also suggested that Liang might have been covering for his brother, who might have been the one who killed Liu and stole her bank cards. Fortunately, This was soon resolved as the twin brother turned out to have an irrefutable alibi for the day of the crime. Therefore, the man seen withdrawing money from the ATM could be none other than Leong. Upon learning of the theft, the defendant claimed that it was a joke between him and Liu, and claimed that he had returned the money to her. However, the police could not find any evidence in Leong and Liu's homes that his words were true. In addition, the police found out that the girl was studying and really wanted to be a bridesmaid in her sister's wedding. Liu also excelled at work and had recently gone to a dating agency in search of a potential boyfriend, as she knew that her relationship with Leong would not progress or end well. The girl's optimistic attitude in the last days of her life finally destroyed Leong's arguments about the lovers' alleged pact to die together. Even after Leong's arrest, officers continued to search for Liu's remains. A 30-member special police team checked the banks and bushes around the Kalang River. The search also extended to the Singapore River. Eventually, the police went to the Tuas incinerator to look for the remaining body parts, as they were told that all waste from the Singapore River is sent to this incinerator. After 10 hours, the police found a decomposed head wrapped in newspaper and placed in a yellow bag, as well as severed legs. Although the head was decomposed beyond recognition, Dr. Teo confirmed that it belonged to the victim, but the severed feet were never found. On June 18, 2005, after being charged with murder, Leong was taken to his home where he committed the crime. Many journalists rushed there to get a glimpse of the killer who had horrified Singapore with his gruesome crime. The media was abuzz with footage of police officers leaving the apartment with evidence collected for investigation. Among the items collected were a partially damaged butcher knife, a rubber mallet, several Chinese newspapers with missing pages, plastic bags, some of the clothes Leong was wearing before his arrest, and the towels he allegedly used to strangle Liu. A forensic pathologist who performed an autopsy on the victim found several tiny metal fragments attached to the muscles of his left leg. These metal fragments were later matched to the butcher knife that Leong claimed was used to dismember Liu. The result was positive. It was also discovered that the newspaper pages found around the body parts were missing pages from newspapers that police had confiscated from Leong's home. Fabric fibers found in the boxes matched the fibers on Leong's clothing. The duct tape used to wrap the cardboard boxes also came from the man's home, and the bags in which the bodies were wrapped matched those found in his son's bedroom. The police also searched the bathroom where Leong dismembered the body. At first glance, the room appeared clean and spotless, with no stains or odor of blood. However, when Inspector Roy looked under the toilet bowl, he discovered a small stain. A forensic examination later confirmed that the red stain was Liu's blood. 10 days after his arrest, Leong finally broke down under immense pressure. He retracted his initial statement and told the police the whole truth. The man admitted that he stole the bank cards when Liu was showering after sexual intercourse in a hotel room on June 13, 2005. And said he used the money to make purchases. He was afraid that Liu might recognize him in the CCTV footage and thought that if he was arrested and convicted of the theft, his family and everyone he knew would learn the shocking truth about their love affair. Leong could also lose his job, his reputation, and the respect of his family and friends. So he called Liu to his home that morning of June 15, 2005, and strangled her. Ironically, all the things that caused him fear and shame eventually happened, but with great consequences, for it was not the theft of $2,000, but a heinous crime. On May 3, 2006, nearly 11 months after his arrest, 51-year-old Leong made his first trial for the murder of Liu Hong Mei. At the beginning of the trial, the prosecution relied on statements and confessions made by Leong during pre-trial detention. When the accused took the stand after the prosecution had finished giving its case, he suddenly changed his story. He challenged the credibility of his confession, claiming that it was Inspector Roy who had ingratiated himself with him and induced him to write the incriminating statement. Leong claimed that the inspector treated him kindly and even treated him to Chinese herbal tea to get him to agree to let the police officer record his statement. He further claimed that he was promised that the statement would help him mitigate the murder charges. Inspector Roy, however, denied the allegations. He said that a week after confessing to the motive for the murder, Leong said he felt hot, at which point Roy decided to buy 2 bottles of herbal tea. The inspector produced a notebook in which he recorded his story and proved that the herbal tea was indeed bought after Leong's confession, contrary to his claims. Judge Tai En Kwan then ruled that the defendant's confession was admissible in evidence. After this unfortunate incident, Leong returned to his original version and claimed that Liu's death was the result of a love pact made to die on the same day. He claimed that the girl had willingly allowed herself to be strangled, thus proving her sincerity and love for him. The reason he insisted on this version was that he wanted to be convicted of manslaughter, since in that case he faced the maximum penalty of life imprisonment. As to the fact of Liu's alleged depression due to impossible love, police testimony about the true optimistic feelings of the young girl, who was full of plans for the future, made Leong's version of events doubtful. Thanks for watching, friends. What do you think about this story? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'm always interested in your opinions. Subscribe to my channel, there's much more to come. See you next time.